Hi, Joe from Liftastic here. Today I'm asking the question, are your relationships serving you? So, I'm a life coach. I see people every day. We talk. They want their life to be better. They want to make changes in their life. They ask me to help. I ask them questions, help them get to where they want to go. One of the first things we talk about is, if you want to change, you want to make a change, it's all you. You have to make the changes yourself. There's a lot of work that you have to do. A lot of work that you have to do inwardly, looking at yourself, analyzing yourself, looking at being aware of your thoughts, being aware of your habits, making notes on yourself, basically. And that can involve spending time by yourself. So separating from the people around you on a temporary basis is very, it speeds things up, It gives you the opportunity to sit there and instead of looking outwards and judging other people, as we do, we sit there and we can judge ourselves. So while we're doing this, I like to ask lots of questions. And one of the questions I ask is, if you look at the people you hang around with the most, let's say the 5 closest people to you, what are they like? And then, usually there's a pause and, thought. But it turns out that a lot of the time, the people I speak to haven't really kind of assessed their friends. It's like they're kind of sitting there and really thinking about each one of their friends. And I get them to take notes and stuff and make notes. And I start to ask them questions like, well, how does this person make you feel? Does this person complain a lot? Is this person a gossiper? What are their traits? What are their habits? If they say they're going to do something, do they do it? Are they trustworthy? Do they bring you up or do they put you down? How do you feel, after you've left the conversation or your time with them? And then we talk about family as well. Your family or your family, not much you can do, but you don't have to be around them. You don't have to. You can choose not to be. So the family members that you are around, same questions. And often it's one of those things like, we don't think about these things. They're just, our friends, they're just our family. But when you really start to sort of scratch the surface and look and assess your friendships and ask the question, are these relationships serving me? A lot of the time they're not. Like I said, they say that you're kind of like the 5 people, you're the average of the 5 people that you hang around with. Their energy, their attitudes, they all rub off on us. So for sure, during my lifetime, I've done a lot of work on myself. I'm still not there yet. I might not be the person you want to hang around with either, But, I've really worked on myself and I've looked at all of these negative traits that I saw in my friends. And I also looked and saw that a lot of them were in me. Now, I'm not saying that they, it was their fault. I was great and then they rubbed off on me and now I'm this, it goes both ways. I'm damn sure that periods of my life I've been very negative, most of my life, in fact, from the work I've done. That's changed now. But a lot of the time, you have your story in your head. And we've all got that friend, the one that's just, they always have a negative story. And they want to talk about it, and they want to talk about it, and they want to talk about it, and they want to talk about it. And then that's all they talk about. And then you see them again a few weeks later, and the same thing, talking about that. You can't change the subject. You can't snap them out of it. Now, you got to feel sorry for people like that. Those people, you should be giving them my card. But, that kind of rubs off on us, There are times where I've been out with friends, thinking I'm going to have a good time. And it doesn't turn out that way, It's good to be a good friend and help people with issues and problems. But if they're a person that, when you leave, you feel drained and you just feel depressed, do you really want to hang out with them? Are they serving you? Because if you're going to do all this work and change your mindset and become more positive and start seeing the positive things in your life and you make all these changes, there is a danger that, when you're around these people, you get pulled back. And when you're doing all this work, it can get frustrating when you get pulled back. You're doing really well, and then suddenly, bam, you find yourself back where you were. It happens. It always happens. It can be a day or 2 days, bad days in a row. But, it takes time to get back on track. And being around these type of people, it can really pull you back and stop you from progressing. So, I always kind of give my clients a few pointers, some of the red flags. Are you in a toxic relationship? So if you have a friend or a family member that you just can't be yourself around, that you find yourself always kind of acting, pretending, you're not having conversations about real life. You're just talking about surface stuff. And most of the time it's gossip, what's happening to somebody in the news that you just don't care about, somebody, a famous person that you really just couldn't give a damn about. Nothing they do affects you. Why do you want to talk about it? But you just find yourself in a conversation about, things that don't matter. And often they're negative. Often it's like catty, complaining, gossipy, pointing fingers, That's a big red flag. Then, are they the sort of person who puts people down all the time instead of bringing them up? And even you, I've been around people, I'm talking about an issue I have, and they start digging into me and pointing out all my flaws and that can be okay at times. But if they do it constantly and it's always this, they're not really helping you in any way. It's just like, well, you're like that. You're not good. You want people that you can trust to tell you the things that you need to hear. But if they're all negative, then, why are they with you in the first place? And why are you with them? So the next thing is, if you leave the conversation stressed, anxious, annoyed, if you find yourself sort of going home and thinking, oh God, that was so much hard work, like, questioning why do you hang around with them? Well, it's a good question. Think about it, Do you want to hang out with that person, really? The last thing is boundaries. That's something I didn't know much about. I kind of quite recently learned what they are, and they're pretty useful. But one thing I found is that, a few of the people around me, as soon as I, for the first time ever, decided to put a boundary in place, it was amazing how many people were just like pissed all over it, like immediately, just at that second, the moment I put it in place, there they were. And I was shocked, But if you're one of these people that have never put a boundary in place, try it and just see what happens. And it really, things come out of the woodwork. You start to realize, wow, maybe these people were just my friend because I didn't have boundaries. And you put one in place and it's almost like you're annoying them and they've got to just, shit on it, They've got their boundaries, they respect, oh, you can't speak to me like that, you can't say those words to me, you can't. But I can just do whatever I want to you. And as soon as you put a boundary in place, wow, they don't like it. And I've seen it happen, and there are people that are currently not in my life, that much, for those reasons. There are people out there who aren't like this. They exist. In this world, it's not... People can change, but if you're doing work to change yourself and you put yourself into that group of friends that, you've been hanging around with for years, and you find that and suddenly your eyes are open, you're saying, my God, like every time someone leaves the room, that person's gossiping about them. Like, what happens when I leave the room? We don't think about those things. Guaranteed when you leave the room, it's all about you, And if they're gossiping about everyone else to you, they're going to be doing it behind your back. So just kind of become aware, because as I said, I've had clients who have made so much progress, who have had 2-3 good weeks in a row, and they're excited because they're going out with some friends, or they're excited because they're going to go visit family, and the next day suddenly they're just down, texting me, God, I feel like I'm just, I'm back to the beginning and I can't be positive. And it's the people you're around. You have to be aware of that. And I know it's hard, but, like I've said in a couple of my previous videos, I believe that we're going through an awakening in this world. I believe that we're being nudged and pushed to make better decisions, and that ultimately the world's going to change drastically, and we're being kind of prepped for it. And that's why I feel that a lot of people have started questioning life and questioning reality, and looking at the people around them, their jobs, their relationships, like every little part of their body and themselves. And they want to make the change because we are in this very negative place. We've been programmed, and people are, they're working on deprogramming themselves. But the people that are stuck in this, in this current way of living, until they wake up, until they want to do the work, once they see you doing it, it might be that, hey, well, maybe they'll want to do the work. But until that time, do you want to risk hanging out with them? Do you want to get pulled back in? Because that's what happens. Finally, I was talking earlier about, one of my clients, he was hanging around a homeless shelter because he was homeless for a while. And, he turned to me one day and just said, look, I left your place, had a great attitude, felt awesome. It was great. And then I get back to the shelter and everyone's so negative and they brought me down and blah, blah, blah. And so I reminded him that he let himself get brought down. But, he did it to himself. But I also said, well, what did you do? While you were there, while everyone's being negative, you came from this positive conversation where you felt so elated and happy and felt like you had made progress and you were on the right track. And then here you are surrounded by these people and they pull you down. Well, what did we talk about? What were the things I asked you? What were the things I said to you that made you, the questions I asked you, what were the things that made you feel good about yourself? And he said, and I said, well, next time you're there, why don't you speak about those things? Why don't you bring up those subjects? Change the news, flip it, It's so often that we go out and like, oh God, it's so negative, everyone's so negative. Well, that's where you come in. That's where we can bring light into the world. That's where we can change the world and we can change the news wherever we are. I go to a local pool down here, use the sauna. And since I've been going there, I was such a negative person before. And since all of these changes have been made, I found that, sitting in the sauna and you get people coming in and, a mix of people from all walks of life. And, as soon as they start on about Justin Trudeau, the government and this and that and the other and money and, I've switched off my TV. I'm not listening to that crap. And I'll just flip it. I'll flip everything. I'll flip the whole thing on its head. I'll start asking, questions, start talking about positive things. And it's amazing. Like the tone now, it's changed. People have realized that hey, we don't have to talk about this negative stuff. Now we've got people coming in talking about real life and themselves and the people around them and the things they can do something about. Not politics, not nonsense that's going on TV, not Justin Trudeau. They're talking about their life, their struggles, the things they're doing. They're asking for advice. We're all talking now. We're talking about real life, and it's completely changed things. And now there's a whole group of us who just we're smiling when we see each other. The mood's up. We're lifted up, and it's just been fantastic just to see it. And it's not just me doing that. It's contagious. It's like this bad programming that we have right now. You switch on the TV, it's negative. It's all, look at the news, look at the internet, look at everything. It's all clickbait, negative, bad things. We're clicking it. We just want it. We're so used to being in this fear and anxiety that, we crave it. We're addicted to it now. I don't know if you've noticed, but if you're feeling good right at this moment, if you start to feel good, it's like a nagging anxiety kind of clawing at you. And a lot of people have been experienced it. And that's what I experienced when I first started shifting my mindset, and that's when I realized it's actually me pulling myself back into that space, because somehow I've programmed myself to feel that that's my safe space. That if I'm hyper aware of everything and hyper anxious and hyper paranoid, I'm safe. And that's when I started getting sick. That's when I started getting these phantom aches and pains. That's when my sleep just absolutely, like, it stopped. That's when I started to feel terrible. And like 80% of all common ailments, they're saying, are caused by negative thought patterns. And I know, 80%, where did that come from? Who said that? But I actually believe that that's a fact, I know people personally who have had severe, like, they've been this close to death, but they're so positive and they want to live, and they instead of being pulled back into a depression, it's like, well, I've only got this much time to live, I better fucking live it. And they go out and they have a ball, and then they go to the doctor. Oh, you're fine, They're still alive today. It's mindset, and I'm pretty sure of that, a lot of these diseases. So if you're making a change in your life, if you want to be better, if you want a better life, you got to look at your friends, you got to look at your family. Who do you want with you? Who makes you feel good? Who brings you up? Who's positive? Who wants to hear about your wins? Because if somebody doesn't want to hear about those things, or is jealous, or always wants to talk about themselves, or I don't know, some TV star that they shouldn't really care about, are they serving you? Is this relationship serving you? We've got to be authentic. We've got to start choosing our friends, and with family, you don't have to hang around family. You don't have to be around them. If they're not serving you, you don't have to be rude and tell them to F off or never see them again. But don't feel like you have to put yourself in a position, because you don't. You're a free spirit. If you're working on yourself, do everything in your power to make sure that you're successful, to make sure you succeed, and to make sure that you come out the other end the person that you want to be, or the person that you are. So yeah, just think about it. Have a sit down. Go through your friends list. Write down a few things about them. If you see that there's 4 or 5 red flags, well, if you see there's 2 or 3 red flags, you might still be able to get in there and change the news. It might just be you steering the conversation more, and actually helping them come out of their depression, because that's where they probably are. They're stuck. They're not happy with their life. So, if you're not happy with your life, you're just going to see the negative in everything, in everyone. And that's how we've been programmed. So, spread some light. Go out with your friends and bring up these positive, conversations. Talk about the personal stuff that you're doing, and how it's helping you and how it's affecting you, and see if they want to listen, see if they're happy for you. If they're all looking, oh God, what's you going on about? Then perhaps they're not for you, But I've seen it, like I said, negative ninnies coming into the sauna, now they've changed. They're actually smiling. They're happy. They want to hang out. It's really opened my eyes. It's very powerful. So, keep up the good work. Keep working on yourself. And like I said, look around you. Look at the people you're with. And also, while you're looking at them, if you see some red flags there, start being aware of how you interact. Because I still do it now, It's still, every now and again, I catch myself going into a negative rant, I don't like driving. I don't like driving in I could say I don't like driving in Canada. I can blame Canadians for it, for them being bad drivers. But it's not them. It's probably me. I get into these conversations. I go on and on, start getting negative about stuff. But I catch myself. And I've managed to pull myself out of it. I still don't like driving, but I don't talk about it much anymore. Anyway, give it a try. Next time you're out with your friends, your buddies, whatever, just, if they're talking about football, bring the conversation towards being a better person, towards, how their mental health is, what you're doing. and see if they want to get involved, because we can change the news. We can change the world around us, but we have to do it internally, and then we can do it externally. So once you've got into that mindset, once you're there, it just becomes natural. And you don't want to listen to this stuff. It's almost like you don't hear it. You just, I've got up and walked away from conversations without saying a word, and then sat back down a few minutes later and started a conversation about something positive, and then it's been turned to negative, and then I'll just be like, get up and walk away again. And it's like, what? Give it a try, and then sit back down again and just say, look, I'm working on myself. I really want some positivity in my life. And, we keep going on to these negative conversations. Like, can we not talk about these things? If they really want to, then just get up and leave. You are a free spirit. You're your own person. The only thing stopping you in this world is your brain, Don't feel like you have to stick with people just because you feel sorry for them, or because it's just a habit. It's just, they're your best friend. That's what you've always said. If they're not serving you, they're going to bring you down, man. And you're not going to do it. You're not going to do the work. You're not going to get there. So I'll stop repeating myself. And yeah, I hope this helped you. And let me know in the comments if you've got friends that you've noticed are bringing you down, or if you've got friends who you connected with in a more deeper way by actually talking about things that matter. Give that a try as well. Have a good one.